Welcher got paid almost $500,000 to paint it blue and wear an orange shirt.
Some of those other questions that Dr. Welcher didn't answer.
Yeah.
I'm going to strike the last part of that answer.
There's a body on the front lawn. Who cares? Let's go back to drinking. That's what we do in camp. We drink. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to Buckle Up. It's the Law with Attorney Larry Forman. Folks, today we are going to cover, once again, the testimony of Dr. Wolfe. Testimony that has completely changed the jurors' minds. Believe me, I know. I was inside the courtroom. I got a chance to see their faces. I got a chance to see their reactions in real time. Now, let me tell you, folks, their reactions are subtle, but they are very, very noticeable if you pay attention. And there are a couple of them that were quite emotive. And I don't want to point them out because I don't want to tip off the government. I don't want to tip off Bev or Brennan or anybody else or the clerks in order for them to remove these helpful jurors to the defense. So I'm going to keep it to myself. However, for those of you who have not seen Crash Daddy number 1, we are going to cover Crash Daddy number 2. Dr. Rentschler, he is next on my list, and that is going to premiere probably shortly thereafter. This is being recorded on Wednesday, June 11th. The defense has just rested in the Karen Reed case, and the prosecutor, Brennan, has just admitted that he's not going to be calling any rebuttal witnesses. So by the time this video premieres, one of two things will have happened or will have already happened. Number one, closings. Closing arguments are Friday the 13th. You can't make this stuff up. Strawberry Moon on Wednesday, today, and it's very, very pink, very red in the sky, supporting Karen Reed. And Friday the 13th. We started this trial on April Fool's Day. We're ending it on a Friday the 13th. Like, there could be nothing more fitting than this. Nothing. The gods themselves couldn't have moved mountains better than this. I'm sorry. It's true. Oh, my God, I am beyond words, folks. I am beyond words. The fact that Brennan actually decided not to call Welcher to rebut Wolfe is very telling. I think he realized he's got completely creamed, and Welcher cannot rescue him, especially after Rentschler. I think Rentschler, which, like I said, I know I haven't premiered it on my channel yet, or maybe I have, but probably not. Like I said, that's going to be the next one that is going to premiere either Thursday or Friday. And then, of course, closing arguments. Closing arguments are going to premiere this weekend, and the jury is going to start deliberating Friday the 13th. And they're going to resume. There's no way we're going to have a verdict. Friday the 13th, we're going to go into Monday, the 16th of June. And yeah, it's going to be quite something, folks. So without further ado, I bring you Crash Daddy number 1, Dr. Wolfe. Oh, and before I forget, if you have not checked out our members-only content, go check it out. Membership started at 99 cents for an intern, and so you can check out all of the content that we have under the paywall, and most of it is going to be Diddy at this juncture.
Following the proceeding last year.
Remember, I'm in the courtroom for all of this. 100% of what you're about to see in this Wolfe video and the second Wolfe video. I'm in both of those inside the courtroom in the back, right next to Jackson.
Any of the time?
Yes, last year. Yes.
Last year.
Correct, yes.
And don't forget to like this video, comment below, subscribe to the channel.
Do you know how much that was?
From what I recall, I think it was around $20,000.
And I remember this is very important because this was right after the morning break. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm like, Jackson, you got to ask the money question. Because they already heard from Dr. Welcher that they paid Welcher almost $500,000 for his testimony. How much did you get paid? Last year, 20. And this year, how much did you get paid total?
Paid by the defense. Your initial testing, the initial analysis, which we talked about earlier this morning, was ARCA paid by the defense for any of that?
No, not the report, testing, none of that.
Okay. What were you paid for last year related to the first proceeding?
My time to appear at the proceeding.
Travel?
Correct. Travel, testimony. Yes, sir.
So the form, Mr. Jackson?
Sure. What about now? Have you been paid any additional sums by the defense specifically?
That's the question. I was like, Jackson, you have to ask it. And after the break, he asked it. It was just, it's almost as if he read my mind. It was quite amazing.
For your undertaking that you're testifying about today?
Yes.
About how much have you been paid?
I think when I spoke to accounting, I think they indicated it was around $50,000.
Okay. Let's talk about laboratory test B, as in Bravo. If I may have just a moment, Your Honor.
Sure.
What was different about lab test B as opposed to lab test A?
So the tests were essentially identical aside from the speed increase going from 10 up to 17.
Okay. Let's take a look at the next slide. Just so I'm clear, Doctor, I want to make sure I'm on the same slide as you. Is this slide 35 pursuant to your notes?
This is slide 36.
36, got it. Okay.
This is crucial testimony.
We can be a little bit more brief,
Absolutely
I think.
crucial.
Because is this similar to the 10-mile-an-hour test? Just with
Watch
increased
this
velocity?
stuff. It's
Correct.
like your mind just explodes. How irrational,
the-
how irrational, and how far-fetched and stupid and crazy the government's theory is. I remember sitting there, and it takes a while for it to pick up. Don't get me wrong; it's not like hot fire, hot fire, hot fire, hot fire every second. There are moments of, but at the end of the day, you're looking at it and you're like, okay, they replicated the exact same methodologies that the government is claiming happen in this case, and it doesn't align with the physical world. Do you understand? You can't just we don't live in a cartoon. We don't live in a world, the video game. We don't live in a world that defies the laws of physics. We live in a world that the laws of physics apply. And for this 5 millimeter thick piece of plastic to shatter into a million pieces and not break a single bone, it's not possible. For a human body to come in contact with an SUV, it would have been completely demolished from top to bottom. As you will see, foreshadowing, that's going to be in the next video in the 6th experiment, I believe, with Randy. If I'm not mistaken, it may have been the Hybrid 3. I don't recall which dummy it was. You'll see what I mean. I'm foreshadowing. This was so good.
Purple-hued taillight on the right. What is that?
So again, that is a thermal image depicting the temperature profile of the right tail light that was tested.
And I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to note that the average temperature profile of the taillight here in this test was approximately 30 degrees Fahrenheit.
Is that below freezing?
It is, yes.
And the ATD, the test dummy, if you will?
Yes.
Is it also clothed?
Correct, yes. You may notice a difference in the sweatshirt color. We put on a new sweatshirt in this test.
Was it also an exact replica of the sweatshirt at issue worn by John O'Keefe? I'll ask it a different way. How did it compare to the sweatshirt that was worn by John O'Keefe?
It was made by the same company and had the same material blend as the previous test and the one that Mr. John O'Keefe was wearing.
Next slide, please. What are we looking at here?
So this will be a video that you will see, much like you did in the other one, where the taillight will be accelerated up to 17 miles an hour, impact the arm. And one of the things you'll see is actually an artifact of the test, if you will, where the taillight, due to the fact that the impactor stops at the end of the stroke, that force actually causes it to decouple from that polyurethane foam that we use to adhere the two.
What do you mean by decouple? What does that mean?
So, as I mentioned, it once the linear impactor reaches the end of its stroke, it stops instantaneously, and the force of that stop just caused where we adhered the two together, just caused it to detach, basically break away. So, in essence, it doesn't matter because we only care about that. Remember, we're talking about that short duration of time, that 10 milliseconds. So once it breaks, it's already reached a common velocity to the taillight.
Can we go ahead and go to the next slide, please? What do you note about this impact?
So one of the things you'll see is kind of that dust cloud that you see. Again, that's all the particulates from the expanding foam that we use. So that's kind of what you see in the background there, kind of going over kind of the arm and the taillight there.
Do you note more damage or less damage to the taillight at 17 miles an hour versus the 10 mile an hour test?
There is more damage, yes.
Let's go to the next slide, please. What are we looking at here?
So you're looking at a top-down view from the high-speed camera. You'll see the taillight.
And the reason ARCA got paid so much more than they did in the first trial is in this one, they actually conducted all of these experiments. These experiments, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below after you subscribe to this channel, let me know in the comments below if this was in the first trial, and I can almost guarantee you this was not in the first trial. That's why the price tag went up, because they started replicating this test to show how absurd, how impossible, how far-fetched, beyond the pale, beyond the realm of physics the government's claim it truly is. And this is the most amazing stuff I think I have ever seen in a trial. And how lucky I am to have been there that day, I can't even begin to describe, folks. And I can tell you that every single juror at some point was writing stuff down about this. They took turns, they took shifts. There were some that were like scribbling incessantly nonstop. There were some that were writing periodically, but there was not a single hand that did not touch pen to paper during the defense's case in chief, no less. I mean, that is just unprecedented.
From the left, impacting the arm at about 17 miles per hour.
Okay, go ahead and play it.
There's the decoupling.
Can you describe the decoupling that's shown here?
Absolutely. So as you can see where the two are basically married together, right? It's kind of actually coming back together now. So that bond that we had, right? This is the most effective way that we could mount it to the impactor. It just became detached due to the force of that impactor stopping at the end of the stroke.
Understood. Next slide, please. What are we looking at here?
So in this slide, you're looking at another high-speed video. This is just a side view. Again, you're going to see the taillight enter the frame from the left, impacting the arm at 17 miles per hour.
Is this in slow motion as well?
This is in slow motion, correct, not real time.
Okay. What do you note in terms of the deflection on the arm?
The arm, as we saw in the previous one, is accelerated up, so it's moving now at roughly a common velocity with what the impact speed was.
And what did you note about the damage to the taillight?
It was more significant than the 10-mile-an-hour test, which, again, there was very minimal damage to that, where several fragments of that red outer lens fractured as well as the clear lens.
Okay, next slide. And what is this depict?
And then for those of you who did not watch the full testimony, obviously there were a total of 6 tests conducted. We're skipping the first one. That was the 10-mile-an-hour test. And I can tell you the taillight housing was completely intact. There was just like a little crack, if you will, in the taillight itself. There was no pieces broken. There were no pieces missing. Nothing came off. It's amazing with just 7 miles an hour, on top of the 10 to make it from 10 to 17 miles an hour can do to a taillight. I mean, it's just completely different results, because 10 miles an hour is one thing, 17, I mean, it's almost double, but it's not, 70% more if you want to look at it that way. And speaking of percentages, at some point, Hank Brennan, which we will not be covering his cross-examination of Wolfe because it's a waste of your time, I can summarize it thus. You used the wrong weight arm because John O'Keefe's arm was about 12 pounds and you used a 9-pound arm. Is that correct? He made a huge point of it, 9.5, whatever, 9.4838, doesn't matter. He made a huge point out of it. And somebody actually sent me the math. He kept saying like it's a 26% difference, 26% difference, 26% difference in your math. But the reality is when you actually calculated physics formula, some math teacher reached out to me and she was like, actually, it's only like 0.6% difference. 0.6, less than 1% if you actually do the math. See, Brennan just likes to do fake math or faux math because when you multiply one thing, well, then you have to multiply the other thing by the exact same percent. No, that's not how it works. The percentage gets diluted. And actually, as a matter of fact, Wolfe addresses this. And again, I'm summarizing the cross-examination for you because it was just so worth it. It was 4 hours worth of nothing. Those 4 hours could be condensed in 4 minutes. That's what I'm doing for you right now. Brennan tried to make it a huge point that it's like a 26% difference, but when you actually do the numbers, that 26% difference in weight, and the more acceleration you have, the more speed you have, the more force you have, the less you care about the mass of the object because you're multiplying it by the acceleration. And so the force is only going to have a negligible, like less than 1% difference. Did you realize that? Like Brennan is a moron, an absolute moron, and he deserves to go down for this. I'm really looking forward to it.
This is extracted frames from the previous video just showing right at contact, during contact, and post-contact.
Next slide, please. What is this a photograph of?
This photograph is depicting the damage to the taillight at the conclusion of the test, where, again, it's missing fragments of the outer red lens. I will note that the interior diffusers and plastic components are intact in this test.
When you say intact, what do you mean?
They are not damaged or broken.
At all?
Correct, at all.
Next slide, please. What is that a picture of?
Another photograph showing the taillight post-test. Again, no damage to the underlying diffusers in terms of being cracked,
That's
shattered, or
huge.
broken.
And what did you note?
That means theoretically Karen was going faster than 17 miles an hour in reverse. Come on, folks. Do you think nobody will hear a crash? And I imagine John would have screamed from the impact, and then just like everybody ignores him and like, oh, let's get back to the party. There's a body on the front lawn. Who cares? Let's go back to drinking. That's what we do in Canton. We drink.
In terms of the damage to the outer acrylic, the red piece.
It broke into a few fragments, and I think on the next slide I depict those in a photograph.
Let's take a look at that. What is that?
So this is a photograph depicting the collection of the fragments post-test. I will note there's one clear piece, one red piece, another clear piece, and there is one more red piece in this bag. So the outer lens broke into approximately 4 pieces in the 17 mile per hour test. And I'll point out one other thing just because you can see it in the photograph. This is that 3D printed bracket that we used to bolt it onto the linear impactor with the foam on the other side that mounted it to the taillight.
Thank you for that. Next slide, please. What is this a picture of, or pictures of?
This is a side-by-side comparison showing a depiction of the 17 mile an hour test impact to the test taillight, comparing it to that of the subject taillight.
Were you able to reach any conclusions or opinions as to whether or not the damage to the subject taillight on the right is consistent with striking an arm at 17 miles per hour?
Inconsistent.
It's inconsistent from a damage perspective.
What's the basis of that opinion?
The test that I've just showed you all.
Was that testing that we've just talked about conducted in accordance with the scientific literature and generally accepted methodologies that you've earlier described?
Yes.
Is the damage to the right rear taillight consistent with striking John O'Keefe's arm at 17 miles per hour?
No.
Do you hold that?
I was shocked that there was no objection to that, because not that it's an objectionable question. It's that Brennan doesn't like anything that hurts his case. He's got that liar objection. Objection, Your Honor. This really hurts my case. He's famous for that. I'm shocked he didn't object here.
Opinion to a reasonable degree of scientific certainty.
I was shocked in court too.
Yes.
Slide 45, please. What is this?
You're looking at photographs post-test of the sweatshirt that the ATD was wearing at the time of the impact.
Is this the 17 mile an hour impact?
Correct, yes.
Did you note any defects in the fabric of the right arm?
There were no punctures, holes, or fraying of the material during this impact test.
Based on this testing that you conducted in this case, is the damage that you saw of the shirt that John O'Keefe was wearing consistent or inconsistent with the shirt that's on the ATD?
It was inconsistent compared to the sweatshirt that Mr. John O'Keefe was wearing.
Based on that, do you have an opinion or a conclusion as to whether or not the damage on Mr. O'Keefe's clothing was consistent with being struck by the right rear taillight at 17 miles per hour?
It is inconsistent.
Next slide, please. What is this graph depicting?
So going back to these terms that we've talked about, this is the acceleration trace of the 17 mile an hour impact test. And you can see that we reach a peak acceleration at around 5 milliseconds, and that's at about almost 270 Gs.
You said 270 Gs?
Correct.
Or 217?
270.
Thank you.
70.
Did that have any significance on your analysis?
Yes.
What was that?
Well, we can use that to estimate. Obviously, we can integrate that to get the speed, but we can also estimate the force applied to the taillight with that information.
Can we go to the next slide, please? What is the delta V as it relates to the 17 mile an hour lab test?
So you can see, again, the arm initially at rest is accelerated up, increasing in speed, and then reaches just about 16 miles per hour, so reaching nearly a common velocity with the taillight at about 8 milliseconds in time.
Next slide, please. Did you conduct additional tests other than the 2 lab tests that we've talked about?
Yes, sir.
Describe just in general, and then we'll talk in more specifics. What were the tests that you undertook after the lab tests?
So we conducted 2 tests with a suspended ATD arm that was impacted by an exemplar 2021 Lexus LX570. We then conducted a test where the arm was then attached to a test dummy, and then our final test was a full-on impact to a test dummy.
Can we go to slide 48, please?
By the way, the reason they saved the full impact test for last is because they didn't want to have to keep buying these Lexus SUVs because they knew that last one is going to absolutely destroy it. Spoiler alert.
What are we looking at in this slide?
This is the
Physics!
exemplar 2021 Lexus LX570 that was utilized during this test program.
Was this the same vehicle that was utilized in all the tests, C, D, E, and F?
Correct, yes.
If we could go to slide 49, the next slide. What's depicted in this photograph?
Well, so there's a number of things here, so I'll try to point them all out. So obviously, we talked about just now the Lexus here, the exemplar vehicle. We have a forklift that was hoisted up that ultimately was suspending the arm. I think I have an additional photograph that shows it close up. But the arm was suspended from the forklift at the correct height to interact with the taillight. We have our high-speed cameras set up under this umbrella. There's another one over here. Another thing you'll note is we brought out the chest freezer when we were installing these in the Lexus to, again, keep them at that steady state temperature for as long as possible.
If we could go to the next slide, please. What are we looking at in this photograph?
So this is the approximate position that we plan to have contact occur in these tests. So as you can see, the forearm is in contact with the lift gate.
You know what I find most hilarious right here? Just want to pause it for a second. Again, I'm foreshadowing a little bit just because I already know what's about to happen and I've been in the courtroom. I find it quite hysterical that ARCA did all these extensive tests with a real like Lexus SUV that's the same model with an arm and crash test dummies, you know, the Hybrid 3 and Randy and all of that. And they got paid $50,000. And yet Welcher got paid almost $500,000 to paint it blue and wear an orange shirt. I want his job. Maybe not really, but you know what I mean? Just when you're a hired liar, when you're just a gun for hire, and you'll say whatever they need you to say. I mean, obviously, this is an organization that will never be hired by any high caliber attorneys ever. And of course, I'm talking about Aperture. Aperture will never, ever, ever be hired except by people like Brennan. People who need to deceive, that somebody who has like a very, very weak tangential case and they just need somebody to say what they need them to say for the right price. If you got the cash, we'll say whatever you need. We'll say whatever you want. We'll even send guys who lie on their resume for you, which is not a good thing. Like, again, I'm not trying to paint this like it will destroy your case. But hey, at least they will have made a crap ton of money on you and they will say exactly what you want them to say, but they won't be good people. They won't be high caliber, obviously. ARCA is, after this is the best advertisement ARCA has ever received in the history of ever. To testify in a trial like this, to show the truth, to show the BS, ARCA is going to be swimming in business. Guarantee it. Guarantee it. Anyway, let's get back to the video.
And the quarter panel taillight along with the elbow.
Why did you choose this configuration for the arm, the forearm, the hand, the elbow?
It was based upon my review of Dr. Welcher's work and that he did through his static and dynamic test or paint test that this is how the arm was roughly oriented when the alleged contact occurred.
What were you trying to replicate in positioning the arm this direction, this way, as it relates to the SUV?
Well, I think as I stated earlier, it was to understand, you know, okay, let's get beyond just simple geometry, aligning things. What happens to the arm, right? What are the accelerations? What's the damage? right? What we want to answer.
All the stuff that Welcher never wanted to touch with a 20-foot pole. Why? Because it would destroy his own testimony. It would obliterate everything that he hypothesized from here to high heaven.
Some of those other questions that Dr. Welcher didn't answer.
Yeah.
Does this
So I'm going to strike the last part of that answer.
Whatever, Ben.
Does
Nobody
this
cares.
configuration align with your understanding of Dr. Welcher's alignment of the arm as it relates to the vehicle?
Existing.
May we approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you, Your Honor. May I inquire?
Yes.
Okay. Let's go to the next slide. It's maybe self-explanatory. What was the speed of your first test out in the field?
15 miles per hour.
Next slide, please. What are we looking at in these two photographs?
So on the left is a photograph of the installed preconditioned taillights just after the install, and on the right is a thermal image of that. And if I may just point out with the temperature. So one of the things you may see here is that due to the reflective chrome here, this is just an artifact of that being really reflective. So when we look at the average temperature profile of the taillight for this test, the average was approximately 17 degrees Fahrenheit for the taillight.
Was it important in this testing to account for the temperature variance of the taillight assembly?
Yes, absolutely. And I will note we certainly strive to maintain that. One of the things you actually may see in this photograph on the left are these pellets on the ground, and that is due to the fact during the installation process, one of my colleagues was positioned adjacent to the taillight fixtures, applying a compress of dry ice to help mitigate any heat transfer during the install process.
Let's move on to the next slide.
As you can clearly see, these guys are taking their job very, very seriously.
What are we looking at in this overhead view?
This is it's a drone video, so you're going to see the Lexus accelerate from left to right, impacting the hybrid suspended arm in the area where you could see the umbrella.
Can you use your spotlight and orient us? Where are the vehicles and the testing locations?
Yes. So the Lexus is starting here. You will see it accelerate in reverse with the hybrid arm suspended in this area here.
Okay. Is this a video or just a still shot?
This is a drone video.
Let's go ahead and play that. Dr. Wolfe, is that in real time or slowed down, sped up?
This is in real time.
Okay. Next video, please. What is this?
This is a camera that was mounted on top of the forklift that was suspending the arm.
Is this a still shot or is it a video?
It's a video.
What is the orientation of that arm as it relates to the vehicle that we'll see?
So it will make contact with the taillight, although I will note in this test, ultimately the contact ended up being more of a clip or a side swipe in this test.
Go ahead.
Just like Welcher and back in his day, Trooper Paul hypothesized that it was just a clip. It's just so ridiculous.
Did you see the impact area?
It's quick.
Right. What did you mean when you said more of a side swipe or a clip?
So I think the next couple of videos will help demonstrate that.
Let's move on to the next one. What are we looking at in this video? Or, I'm sorry, in this photograph.
So this is going to be a high speed or a slow-mo video. You're going to see the Lexus come in from the right and then move across the screen to the left.
By the way, I did not notice this in court, but in the back, you see Wolfe very proudly just kind of posturing like, He's very proud of his work. He's admiring his work. Like, I'm putting Welcher to shame. Yes, you are, sir. Yes, you are.
See contact occur between the taillight and the arm.
Okay.
Like, what actually happens? Forget the blue paint. What does actually happen when rubber meets road? When arm meets taillight? Impact. Et voila. This is an unbelievable stuff.
can you explain for the jurors using this video what you meant by more of a side swipe or a clip?
Right. So this is where the hand and the wrist are kind of in the area of the quarter panel taillight, and then a portion of the forearm in contact with, what I previously said, the wrist and the hand in contact with the lift gate portion of the taillight, and then on the forearm is more in contact with the quarter panel taillight.
Okay. Can we move to the next slide?
All right, folks. Don't forget to like this video, comment below, subscribe to the channel. I am sorry to leave you on a cliffhanger, but we will continue this in the next portion of Dr. Wolfe's testimony, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye, everybody.